drugs, sub-working group 3.1, preventing drug use. My name is Brian Morales from the U.S. Department of State, and I'm going to start us off with some administrative announcements for today. First, I want to discuss three sectors and all of the work that we are undertaking in each one. First is civil society engagement. The Vienna NGO Committee, in collaboration with the New York NGO Committee, will be hosting a Global Coalition Civil Society Forum on the 1st of February from 9 to 11 and 4 to 6 p.m. Central European Time. Coalition governments are encouraged to attend and hear from the civil society organizations. More information and the invitation will be coming to all of you by email in the next few days. Second, we have now started the phase of national dialogues with the Global Coalition, where we are asking governments to organize their own meetings with civil society organizations. Yesterday, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, or ONDCP, hosted a civil society forum for U.S. civil society organizations. That session was recorded and it will be posted on the website. And it was a great opportunity for coalition. It was a great opportunity for civil society organizations to reflect on the coalition and share their thoughts in terms of ways forward. Again, we'd like to invite all of you government partners to also host your own civil society meetings. If you do host these, please send us either a recording or a written summary that we can post on the website. Finally, the Vienna NGO Committee will also be collecting additional feedback and recommendations from civil society organizations, and we will be making this available to you on the website. I would also like to highlight that on our coalition website, there is now a dedicated page for civil society engagement. The next sector is the university sector. For those who aren't familiar, I'd like to introduce you to ICU-DDR, the International Consortium of Universities for Drug Demand Reduction. This is an NGO that was established in 2016 with funding from INL that currently has 422 universities from around the world. ICU-DDR will convene universities to reflect on the challenges of synthetic drugs and provide us with research, with policy ideas, and different programming recommendations. The discussions are going to follow focus on all three working group themes, even though the focus of ICU-DDR is on demand reduction. And the activities that it will sort of proceed with follow are three. First, regional focus groups will be organized in virtual meetings throughout 6 regions. There will be a meeting for Africa, another for Asia and the Pacific, for Europe, for Latin America and the Caribbean, for the Middle East, and for the US and Canada. Universities will convene at this session to look at recommendations and then to prepare reports for governments. This will take place between February to March. Then between April to June, once again, ICU-DDR will convene 6 regional meetings, and this time it will be including governments to get a discussion between government representatives and universities. Again, another report will be developed for coalition members. And then in June, an inventory will be conducted of university initiatives that can support the Global Coalition's work. And this document will also be posted on the website. The third sector is the private sector. We are currently developing a private sector engagement plan, which we will be sharing with co-chairs shortly and all of you. And then that will be presented at next month's meeting under administrative announcements. Now, on the website, we have a new communication feature that will allow participants to share content similar to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It will go live in the next few weeks, but the idea is that to be able to post, we will need to have account activation. So every member of the coalition, those are the governments, the international organizations represented through the registration process, will have an opportunity to create accounts. You will be receiving an email in the next few weeks inviting you to create an account. And after that point, you'll be able to post content directly on the website. We invite you to post news and share experiences, but most importantly, we are very interested in your recommendations for the coalition moving forward. So we're hoping that you take advantage of this feature. And here is sort of a screenshot of what this may look like. Basically text box where you can add images, documents, video links, and you can reply on the posts that others make so that we can have a more fluid conversation and exchange of experiences. I'd like to conclude today's administrative announcements by discussing initiatives and pledges. We have been working very hard to create an initiatives menu that outlines programs, actions, and policies. Between the months of December to January, we have asked international organizations to send us initiatives that we could post on the site. And it's been amazing. We've received over 120 initiatives from international organizations that we are reviewing to put on the website, which as a collective forms a catalog that covers the whole spectrum of counter-narcotics work. So it's very interesting and exciting to see all of this coming together in a way that I've never seen before in a single place. So we will be posting that between the months of January to February on a new section of our website, which we'll call the initiatives section. And then here is a screenshot of what these menus look like for the different projects. We have the project title, we'll have a description that will be just a small paragraph. We'll have background documents. We'll have accomplishments that have been achieved to date if it's an existing initiative. We'll have the different steps of programmatic activity. We'll have outcomes at a global and national level. We will have the names of countries that are currently participating in this initiative. And most importantly, the email address, if you are interested in this initiative, who you can contact so that you can register your interest, your organization's interest, your country's interest to participate. Between the months of February to March, we will be asking all of you coalition members to identify which initiatives or which projects you would like to participate in and to express that interest to the international organization points of contact that are listed. And then I know many of us are going to be at the CND in Vienna in March, so that will offer another opportunity to connect and discuss. And then the implementation phase of our coalition will begin April to July, where we'll actually start initiating or expanding these different initiatives. And this is only the beginning of the implementation phase. We anticipate that this implementation phase will continue for years to come. I'd like to conclude today's session now, administrative announcements, by also sharing a discussion on recommendations. Our team has been reviewing the topics that have been covered in the past meetings all the way through the upcoming meeting in February, the different topics. And based on those, we are developing a draft list of recommendations for your consideration. That list is going to be shared with co-chairs during the month of February and also posted on our website. And then on March 6th and 7th, we will not have sub-working group meetings. We will only have 3 working group meetings, 1 per working group. And these meetings will be reports of sub-working group co-chairs to the working group co-chairs, sharing the progress that the coalition has made over the past months, and also what the draft list of recommendations are. At that time, we're looking forward to hearing from you all in terms of changes or additions to that list. And then we will have a final recommendation list posted on our website during the month of March. But again, you can use that comment feature that I showed you earlier on the website to be able to continue to share recommendations throughout the life of the coalition's work. So those are all of my lengthy administrative announcements for today. Apologies for taking up so much time. I will now turn it over to our co-chairs for today, Inga Dora Sigfustotir and Carolina Bruce. Over to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian, and wonderful to be with you again. And so I'm told that our Carolina and I spoke before the meeting, so she's going to give an intro to the agenda for the day. Carolina, are you gonna introduce us to what we're gonna learn today?
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Inga. Good morning to everyone. This is our 3rd meeting. We've been working intensely on how to learn about various experiences that allow us to carry forward with our initiatives and projects, as Brian explained to us. Today, we're going to talk to some colleagues and experts and learn about them. We're going to talk about communication and prevention. and how communication and prevention have to have certain standards, certain specific details, and certain elements that we have to bear in mind when we prepare our strategies, and how with our communications and everything that we do, we're also helping with governance and sustainability, prevention and prevention management, which are not isolated actions, but a group of systemic actions that allow us to change the lives of our communities and the lives of the people, our people, and the people with whom we work. So the first part of this meeting is dedicated to working with William Crano, an expert professor who's worked in communications. We'll also have the support of a colleague from Mexico City, and we're going to finish our day with a presentation made by SICAD regarding the work with youth. And during today's work, we're going to see how communications and the work with the youth have to be interlinked, because it's an important part of we have to consider when we apply prevention. In prevention, we don't only have to approach what we, the technicians, thinks is reasonable, but what people are receiving through these messages and how these messages can be sustainable through time to generate change in attitudes and the decisions for healthy lifestyles for people. Inga, thank you very much. And now you have the word to explain who the people who are with us today are.
Inga, you are mute.
Thank you, Mariano. You're always on my watch. So I was going to say thank you, Carolina. Thanks for this wonderful introduction. And so we will be starting with Dr. William Crano today from Claremont Graduate University. And he is going to talk about media-based prevention, which is a key component in what we are dealing with. And so we are really looking forward to listening to his presentation. So Dr. Crano, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Crano. I'm a professor of psychology at Claremont Graduate University in Southern California. Today, I want to talk to you about the effective use of the media in drug prevention. You'll see why in my brief presentation, why I think it's important. So bear with me while I get my PowerPoint running. Let's see, screen share. And this. Okay. Over many years, I've come to understand the crucial role of persuasion in preventing drug use. I come to this conclusion because persuasion has been the missing ingredient in almost all previous unsuccessful prevention efforts with which I am aware. We intervene by persuading our audience to avoid the dangers of risky substances. We don't try to scare them or make them laugh at us and so forth. Why persuasion? Well, let's look at what's been tried in the past. Yikes. These ads are threatening or disgusting. You really don't want to see them more than once. Here's another set, less threatening, less disgusting, equally ineffective. This is President Reagan's wife, Nancy. Just Say No was her campaign. It didn't work. This old guy on a farmer on the prairies, meth, I'm on it. No, you're not. It makes light of the whole thing, and it doesn't work. Theoretically, it's not unusual. None of these presentations, in theory, would be expected to persuade anyone. And they didn't. but we continue to use them. Why is that? Well, because what's the alternative? We have one. It's called prevention. It's called persuasion. It's called persuasive prevention. We've refined a system of persuasive message development based on a powerful evidence base. It avoids disgusting or attempting to scare people straight. To avoid risky drugs, it relies on convincing them that the risk isn't worth it, isn't worth the gains, and it works. Our efforts over the past 25 years have drawn support from National Institute on Drug Abuse in the United States, and since 2018, the U.S. State Department's INL, CCOD, and the Colombo Plan. Since 2018, we've been heavily involved in training. We've trained a cadre now of 60 prevention professionals across 19 countries. They formed an interactive group who facilitate each other's work. They are in not constant, but relatively frequent communication. They learn about the advantages of the media, such as reach. You can get almost anywhere using the media, no matter how isolated the group is that you're looking for. You can tailor a message to specific subgroups. Media generate excitement and attract volunteers, and we need volunteers. It influences the prevention agenda in communities. It's fast and it's cost effective if it's done properly. If it's done improperly, it's not worth it. Then they learn about the advantages of media in prevention campaigns. After that, they learn about the necessary considerations that you have to worry about. Like, who's your audience? Are you trying to deal with resolute non-users who've never used and swear they never will? Vulnerable non-users who've never used but think, maybe, or non-users who are already using? Which substance? Do you target a substance, or you use all drugs that is on your prevention materials? All drugs weakens your effects. Keep that in mind. Does your message source appeal to your audience? That's easy to do. What inputs are available to you? What do you have in your hand to foster your campaigns? And what are your goals? Do you want to influence parents or children or schools or legislators or young adults at bars? Do you want to stop or delay initiation or persuade users to quit? Media is not a particularly good treatment device, so persuading people to quit using the mass media, not so good. How will you measure success? What are you looking for? What is your message? Is it structured to take advantage of years of research on persuasion? Can your intuition substitute for evidence-based knowledge gathered over 60 years of intense research? Is anyone, including you, that smart? We have developed a quit model to help us develop creative, persuasive communications. There's so much information out there that's very difficult to figure out how to put it all together. We've done it for you in this model. And the model is very powerful, and it works like a charm. I'm going to show you what it is right now. These are the elements that you have to have in a persuasive message in this order if it's going to work. If it doesn't have this, it's probably not going to do what you want it to do. First of all, you've got to engage the audience. Ensure that the audience attends to your message and stays involved. Now, if you're doing a 60-second TV spot, that's not too difficult to do. With a big billboard, not too difficult. I mean, we know how to do, and marketing people have taught us how to do this very, very well. Get a message out there, get people involved with what you have to say, and keep them there for the duration of your approach. Question, simply ask a question. That's the next step. Ask a question, simple. Do you think cannabis is not harmful? Or really, do all your friends use alcohol? Simple question, no contention. I don't want to start a fight here with my audience. But that mere question begins to generate doubt in people's minds as to, doesn't everyone feel this way? And now you tell them in the undermine phase, no, they don't. You challenge the consensual nature of the attitude or dispute facts with relevant evidence, with real evidence, not something that Uncle Harry said. Indicate the weakness of the assumptions the person holds. Suggest, don't demand. Present the evidence. Don't say you're stupid if you don't agree. Inform. Bring strong information to your arguments. strong evidence by credible, visible sources. In other words, I don't like over just this grand voice. You should listen to this because with no person there. No, bring a face there. It works better. And then finally, persuade, the final piece of the strategy. All of these parts have opened up your audience to your message. And you need to present that message in the information phase and use strategies developed over the years to make them listen and accept what you have to say. We know this stuff from years and years of research. Strong messages make a difference, evidence-based messages, misdirection, two-step flow of communication. Persuade a person who has a group of others who believe what he has to say or what she has to say, who listen to this person. An opinion leader, as they're called. Use experts, use irony, use metaphors, use stories. All of those things, all of those techniques work in persuasion. And now you've got a group, because of the equip, who's ready to listen and susceptible to what you have to say. What's our experience? Well, we have a three-pronged effort to try to deal with drug use, both in young people, 12 to 18-year-olds. Now we're even working with 8 and 9-year-olds in a project in Botswana, and young adults from 21 to 35, thereabouts. We do training. Our system has proved effective in developing a cadre of trained professionals who interact via WhatsApp groups. They interact with other certified graduates that we've trained in the program. Long and short versions of the training have been used and have exceeded our expectation. The training is based on UNODC international standards on drug use prevention and on the UPC program of media-based prevention interventions, both of which we help develop. We don't have any orphans in our program. Once you finish the program, you're part of the family. We will continue to help you. We continue to engage with our cadres in developing evidence-based communications, media campaign development, campaign modification, messages, approaches, and ask. And finally, we almost always are involved in the M&E, the monitoring and evaluation part. This is the thing that gives most people severe headaches because they're not trained for it. We have a whole stable of people who love this sort of thing, including me. And so that's what we do. Thank you for watching. If you'd like more information, let me know, and I'll be happy to help out. Thanks again for your
Thanks a lot, Dr. Crano. This was really very interesting, and all this is being recorded and will be available on the website, so we can go over it. Many questions came up during your talk, but I believe that we have to keep our schedule and give the floor over to our next presenter, who is going to tell us about working with media, entertainment industry, and sports industry. And so questions we need to keep for afterwards. But Raúl Martín del Campo from the National Institute of Psychiatry in Mexico. So the floor is yours.
Buenos días, buenas tardes. Varios compañeros.
Good morning, good afternoon. Several colleagues from the 3.1 group in Latin America have been preparing this presentation, which I now share from you from the National Institute of Psychiatry in Mexico. Greetings. A subject that we've always approached is the scenes of legal and illegal use of drugs on the TV and movies as something aspirational, desirable. Governments have made restrictions for all of the adults when they're consuming some of these substances. However, in spite of these efforts, we've witnessed both an increase in series that have said that this culture is wonderful when they see these charismatic characters using drugs. When the social media was prepared, was a new possibility for information, social participation, exchange of information, and massive exchange of content. use that wasn't contemplated by the media was idealization and the use of psychotropic substances, legal and illegal. With a quick search, we can find without any difficulty pages on the internet or the social media of bloggers or influencers, which do a eulogy for this, talking about their positive experiences with consumption and giving tutorials on how to prepare them and even sell them. Young people are the main users on the social media, and they're an age group with a high index of drug consumption throughout the world. From the perspective of those who want to protect us, certain influences in these groups play an important role in the decisions of young people who use drugs. These factors have been amplified by those who promote the consumption on this media. Social norms, the perception of risk and of consumption and use are modeled on the social media, where each person is not only a receptor, but also a generator and a divulger of information. The few studies that have been carried out have found a significant association between exposure to blogs and social media to real use in the real world. We've seen that many of the publications that have been studied normalized and promoted drug use, including new synthetic drugs. They've also documented how this exposition means that a greater probability of using drugs in large quantities. Due to the algorithms that these platforms are based on, the people who follow this receive a flow of messages and content, so much so that they expose them to the contents where they show drug use, and that reinforces their decisions and their opinions in favor of use. Other elements of the social networks or the social media are the role of the bloggers or influencers and the fact that the platforms allow them to share comments. So the people who use it can immediately know the reactions of their peers. This is a global phenomenon that adolescents want to be influencers. So seeing how a young influencer receives likes and positive comments about their good experiences with drug use will generate an aspirational model that young people want to imitate and follow. Fortunately, we have written documents, guides for communication, where we can offer to journalists and bloggers on how to transmit their messages. Up to the moment, we found 2 in Spanish. In Mexico, those of us who before worked in CONADIC drew up the Guide for Communication on the Prevention of Addiction 2005, reviewed by the UNODC in 2014, and in Spain, we found how to improve information on addiction, a guide from Proyecto Hombre for journalists in 2022. The basic message and very important content of these guides directed towards communicators is that the media affect the behavior of the population. Besides, if you encourage them to use psychoactive substances and if you offer then healthy alternatives, then the public will be influenced positively in favor of caring for their health. Both of them make recommendations to drop articles, news, posts, or audiovisual materials with less of a stereotyped vision and more respectful, which reflects reality, implied the problems of use, and how to prevent it. They stress the need of not stigmatizing the people who use psychoactive substances, offering them specific guidelines on inclusive and non-discriminatory language. They also describe guidelines for the gender perspective and human rights. They contain information regarding what a communicator should know. And here I've synthesized it. It's very important because of time. To see it as a public health without any moral weight, and have people get treatment, distinguish between the various modes of use. Final recommendations. In the first place, regulation. The social media can be registered legally in a specific country, but the reach is global. This means that national authorities have difficulty to start legal action against those who promote illegal actions such as promotion and distribution or the sale of regulated substances. And the treaties recognize the right to health at the highest level, and they've been the basis for certain legal decisions to limit commercialization or marketing, risk marketing, such as tobacco and alcohol. And freedom of expression and opinion is protected in the Human Rights Charter. However, limiting the use of drugs is fully justified to protect public health, mainly those of children and youth. When I had the opportunity of being the member of the International Narcotics Control Board, it recognized the member states and said that they can go to Article 10, Paragraph 2 of the 1971 agreement, and also in that of 82 to regulate the contents on the internet and social media, which encourage the use of drugs. The Children's Convention approaches the question of negative publicity addressed to children through Article 17 and also over Article 33, where they ask the parties to take all of the necessary measures to protect children from the illegal use of psychotropic substances. Governments should ask the social media to take a more active be more active in limiting the consumption of drugs. And in the second place, taking on the guidelines, we have to fully research, trying to train journalists and content creators on the internet and social media, and give greater weight to this type of action in the national prevention models, and reinforcing and continuing with the promotion of curriculum and international guidelines that have been discussed in the Commission to be adopted within the prevention systems nationally and locally, and to design new programs or adapt whichever way possible, those which already exist for children, youth, and adults, which take on critical thinking regarding this content so they can analyze their veracity and also evade being manipulated in the same way that they've been implemented for counter publicity against the alcohol and tobacco industries.
Y difundir contenidos de prevención atractivos para jóvenes en redes sociales. Las redes sociales podrían y deberían utilizarse para promover comportamientos saludables con mensajes y contenidos de prevención adecuados y adaptados que
messages adapted to serve as a counterweight for the content of synthetic drug consumption. National authorities, in keeping with civil society, must consider the possibility of investing more resources in the development and execution of programs and drug prevention programs with messages and contents adapted, attractive, and interesting. Well, thank you very much for your attention. We wait for your suggestions and comments so as to implement these recommendations in social network prevention issues.
Thank you so much, Raúl, for this really interesting talk. So I think we have one more talk before we can open up for discussion. And we are going to learn also about about a global youth engagement by Jimena Kalawski, who has been in various treatment programs, in the lead of various treatment programs, and she's within the drug reduction unit as a chief at SWG. And so over to you, Kalawski. I hope I'm pronouncing your name in the right way. So the floor is yours.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning, and good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Jimena Kalawski. I'm head of the Demand Reduction Unit in SWG in the Organization of American States. And the idea is to share with you the work we've been doing with the youth to strengthen the preventive work that they do. I'm going to share my screen with you. There you go. I hope you can see it. And The program is called Involving Youth in Substance Use Prevention, for which we have some background, which is very important. Most of the people who use drugs are young or young adults, and I would say that about 5.3% of the cannabis users are between the ages of 15 and 16. If we see by regions, we can see that the people under treatment in South America under the age of 25 are close to 52% of the population. In Central America and the Caribbean, 37% of the population. In the Eastern and Southeastern Europe, 34%. In Australia and New Zealand, 34%. Africa, 27%. North America, 17%. And then Asia and Western Europe, 16 and 14 respectively. So you see the work with youth is very important because they do represent a very important population and probably a majority population in matters dealing with drug use. So why is it important to have the young people participate in the substance use prevention, aside from the fact that they are the ones that are directly affected? Because they can lead to significant changes in their peers. That's why we are involving them so that they can follow the whole cycle of work or participation in the different areas of implementation or approach of the use of substances, so that they can participate in the investigation, the planning of the activities, the beginning of the activities, and then of course the implementation as such. And it's also important for them to manage some of the research and evaluation tools. But what's important is to get them into the planning from the very beginning so that they can know about the program and the messages, and so that these are actually adapted to the cultures and their reality, so that they can have material and programs that are really relevant to their age group. So what are the prevention activities that we have now? In the capacity building, we are developing fora of youth in Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as national youth training programs. As for prevention tools, we have a pilot program for drug use prevention and mental health support. It's called the SAD model. And there are also other programs for prevention that we have available in the region, but this is a pilot program that we're now implementing with special emphasis in the Caribbean. We're also promoting youth participation in national government agencies and civil society, and in expert groups for demand reduction in different groups in civil society, strengthening a network of youth at a regional level, for which we have the curricula called Involving Youth in Prevention, the purpose of which is to train youth to act in prevention of drug use and health promotion. And the purpose is to recognize the role of young people in the development and maintenance of prevention activities, as well as the effective implementation of prevention policies in their own community, in their school, in the university, their institute, or their job sites. As I mentioned before as well, we have included young people in many regional fora in national training programs, as well as training the trainers so that they can fully develop these skills. And we include these different levels of work or development and training divided into the modules that you see here on the screen, like understanding the drug use disorders, the prevention science, existing evidence, what helps, what prevention tools do the youth have available, and how can they act as influencers, and what tools can they use for that, as well as how they can develop an implementation plan. As for the prevention tools, as I mentioned, we are developing a pilot program, this SAD model, which is a prevention program for drug use and mental health. It comes from an NGO that began its work with a program called Students Against Destructive Decisions. That's where the SAD comes from. And here we've used this program, which we thought was quite interesting, and have prepared a pilot to attempt in several countries with the idea of offering the youth practical tools for the implementation of prevention initiatives and health promotion in the community environment. And the different chapters of the program are in peers, in the communities, in the schools. There are chapters on alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. There's health and personal safety. All of these are risk factors that we know are related to the drug use. And also, there are tools to include the different problems that youth face today. Another thing that we're doing is building and maintaining youth networks for prevention, for an exchange of good practices and experience to strengthen the decisions that they make themselves regarding the programs or strategies to use, and strengthen their decision of not consuming or remaining away from the use of drugs, for which the youth network we developed, we include commitment and participation by developing youth leaderships with the possibility of building strategic alliances with non-government organizations, with government agencies. In this way, they can also participate in the different fora to promote drug prevention, drug consumption, and health promotion, giving them an opportunity to participate as well in decision-making or decisions related to drug consumption. They have a space where they can participate in programming or planning the programs of demand reduction at a national and global level. They're also given access to training and capacity development opportunities, and this is excellent because they can be developing a whole area of work for themselves, counting on the necessary tools where they can interconnect people from different parts of the world so that they can share experiences, they can discuss relative issues related to this subject, and it motivates them and creates greater interest amongst them in working in this very relevant and necessary area. And that's all. Thank you very much. I wanted to share this program or project we've been working with and motivate you to promote youth participation and work in the demand reduction activities, hearing them, considering them in the planning activities as well as in the diagnosis and development of materials, because we feel that this is probably the most efficient and the best way to really reach them, something that makes sense to them, something that would make them feel really identified. The young people's role is relevant, not only because often it's been said that they are the future, but also because of what they're living, what they're experimenting today in all matters related to drugs, and the need for treatment, the need for social integration, and the need for prevention strategies. Thank you very much, and We're here to answer any questions in case you have them.
Muchas gracias a Jimena por
Thank you very much, Jimena, for
presentación.
your presentation. And now we're going to hear some testimonies. Yeah, testimonies from some colleagues and friends from different parts of the world who are going to tell us how what we just saw about communication with the media and the social networks has been implemented with the youth. We're going to hear first Samuel Betiol from Brazil, who will tell us his experience with the media.
Hello everyone, my name is Samuel Betiol. I'm from Brazil, representing the ENSJ Brazil and Free Mind Mobilization, and in the name of Paulo Martelli, our director, I send you our hello, and I will try to talk about what we learned, what we received from this media course that we did in Claremont University. So I wrote some information here just to not get loose with the translation, with the language, but I will try to be fast and explain everything that I feel about what we learned in there. It's always been a pleasure to be able to talk to you about this training that we received from Claremont Graduate University. We had the chance to access extremely relevant content for us. We were able to learn how to use those theories, learn how to use those framework and concepts to develop better communication campaigns. As you know, we are developing a communication campaign for the city of Campinas. We are implementing the prevention, where we are implementing the prevention pilot project, a project that has 3 pillars: research, training, and communication. In terms of communication, we carry out a survey with the city population, and the results of this research gave us a path to set up this campaign. Our campaign will talk about parental skill, and to develop this campaign we use several tools learned in the media course held on the Claremont University. The theories of two-step flow, equip model, game frame, among a lot of other studies gave us a quality to build this campaign. We are still finalizing some process and mainly raising some funds, but recording and finalizing the campaign, we believe that we are archiving it very soon. I want to say something that I think is very important. It may seem that the content of this course for those of you from the United States is something that has been working for a long time, something normal. But remember, this is not used here in Brazil, and I'm sure in many other countries in Latin America or the world. We need to make people understand how important it is to use those theories, those information, those studies to build better campaigns. So our work here now, in addition to develop this campaign and other campaigns and our work that we do here in Brazil, is to take information for communication science and ensure that other people and also the governments for our country no longer create campaigns that are ineffective. But they use studies and theories to develop something relevant, and they fulfill the objectives that we believe that is save lives. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My sincere thanks. Big hug from Brazil.
Perdón, que estaba con el micrófono silenciado. Muchas gracias, Samuel.
Thank you, Samuel. And now we're going to hear from, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Matej Kosil, Director of the Research and Development Institute in Slovenia. And he's also going to talk about media and how it relates to the advocacy of the projects and processes that we're creating in the field of prevention.
Dear Global Coalition partners and participants, it is a great honor for us at the Youth Rep Institute to be part of this initiative to address synthetic drugs threats and to introduce an important training opportunity in the field of advocacy. Public health advocacy plays a crucial role in promoting the health and well-being of our communities. drug demand reduction professionals, including policy and decision makers, have a responsibility to engage in advocacy to address current and future drug policy challenges. This certainly also applies to the field of synthetic drugs. Advocacy knowledge and skills are essential for drug demand reduction scientists, researchers, practitioners, and policy and decision makers to potentially influence policy and decision-making processes for better drug demand reduction-related policies and practices, long-term and sustainable funding, research, and education or training programs. So very obviously, there is a growing recognition of the need for advocacy knowledge and skills in drug demand reduction, with an eye toward forging stronger relationships with policy and decision makers and other key stakeholders in the field. Advocacy is key to the use of research to inform policy and decision makers about evidence-based policies and practices. Activities include providing expert testimony, writing position papers, press releases, organizing press conferences, and using social media, and other efforts designed to increase the visibility and recognition of evidence-based drug demand reduction interventions. Our training course provides a template for drug demand reduction scientists, researchers, practitioners, and policy and decision makers to build advocacy knowledge and skills, and increase the role of professionals in setting evidence-based policy and practice, including in the field of synthetic drugs. The course includes modules on policy and decision-making processes, effective coalition building, and also a very important module which is aimed at supporting professionals to make the case for evidence-based policy and practice with media advocacy. Media advocacy is a powerful strategy that utilizes media channels to achieve media coverage, promote different messages, influence public opinion, and advocate for policy change. The expected outcome of our training is significantly improved strategic use of different media-related methods such as press releases, web blogs, interviews, press conferences, articles, and social media posts. Very important challenge in the field of synthetic drugs is also cooperation and effective communication with the entertainment sector, or joint addressing of various publics and stakeholders active in this field. This content represents an integral part of our advocacy training course, especially within the module on media advocacy. To conclude, with strategic and responsible use of the knowledge and skills gained in such advocacy training, our joint advocacy efforts and campaigns can be a powerful tool for improving situation in the field of drug demand reduction and also in the field of synthetic drugs. Thank you very much for your attention, and we are looking forward to working with you in the near future.